Welcome everybody to the Friday Build Show. I'm your host, Ben Estrino. I'm over here at the Empower Gaming Studio, where we're going to be building another custom PC today. We do actually have a special guest on the show today. Rachel will actually be joining us today for the build. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Rachel in. Hey, Rachel.
Hi, Ben. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let's see if it's coming up okay on the stream.
Okay, perfect. Do you want me to talk more? Or
Yeah, can you hear yourself over the music, or do I have to adjust that?
I just hear you. You're totally fine.
All right, let me make one more adjustment here.
Okay.
One thing I was thinking of as we were going into it.
Of course, that's the story of our lives with a live stream.
Let me bring that down. All right, can you say a couple of things real quick?
Yep. Hi, I'm producer Rachel, and I am joining Ben on his live stream because I'm going to watch him build my son's gaming computer.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks like that's much better, so I think people are going to be able to hear you over the music.
Okay,
kind of important. So, all right. So normally what I do is I start off with that introduction, which we kind of just covered. And then we're going to go through the parts that we're going to be working with for this PC. And then we're going to jump into the build.
Okay,
Sound
perfect.
Good?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and make one more adjustment here. Let's go ahead and switch over to this view. Kind of a little layout of the parts that I have here. Not the greatest view, but we'll get into a better view once we get into the build here. So starting off, we do have the CPU, which is the AMD Ryzen 5 3600. This is the CPU that we're going to be using today, which has 6 cores, 12 threads, and has a max boost of 4.2 gigahertz. It's a great. It also supports PCIe 4.0, which is a benefit for future growth on the build. The board doesn't have PCIe 4.0, but if they ever wanted to upgrade, hey Trey, what's going on, man? If they ever wanted to upgrade, they could upgrade the motherboard and get PCIe 4.0 later down the road. Next up, we are going to be cooling the CPU with a Thermalright Assassin X120 RSE. This is a tower air cooler, which features 4 heat pipes and one 120 millimeter addressable RGB fan. It's a great cooler for really for an Intel i3 or an i5 or if it's AMD, which is what we're building with today, a AMD Ryzen 5 or Ryzen 3 processor. So they're great for really that limitation. Anything above that, you're going to want to get a bigger cooler. Next, we have 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM at 3200 megahertz, and this is a CL16 timing. This is by Silicon Power, and this is their Power X series. And then we also have a 1 terabyte M.2 Gen 4 SSD by Silicon Power, which gives us Gen 3 speeds. So it's Gen 3, not Gen 4. If I said Gen 4, sorry. But it's a great SSD for gaming and daily computer usage. It's super fast. It'll make your Windows boot times snappy and your game load times really snappy as well. So you won't be sitting there waiting for things to load up. Next up, we have the motherboard, which is what everything's going to be plugged into, which is the B450M DS3H Wi-Fi by Gigabyte. So this is a great micro ATX board, which includes Wi-Fi built into it as well as Bluetooth. So it has plenty of features on the board for this build, and also allows expansion later. If you want to add more storage or add a bigger processor, this board can still do that. Next up, we do have a 80 plus bronze 750 watt power supply by Aris Game. This is semi-modular. Originally, I think we did quote a 650, but when we went to go purchase the parts, the 750 watt was the same price, so it made better sense to just go with the 750 at that point. Next up, the MSI GTX 1660 Super, which is a 6 GB graphics card and features GDDR6 on this board at 192 bit on the bus. It's a great graphics card to start with, because it'll be able to play pretty much any game out today in 1080p above 60 FPS. So it's a great card to start with. It is a little bit of an older card because it's been around for a while, but it's still a card that can handle every game out today in 1080p with its 6 gigs of VRAM. And it's obviously something that they can upgrade later when they're ready to put more money into the system, or when he's ready to grow with the system. And I say he.
So
Sorry.
Well, so
Go
is
ahead.
everything that you just showed for a basic beginner system?
This would be considered, yes, a very entry-level gaming PC. And I say very, just because we usually build with a lot of higher-end PCs. This is a great 1080p gaming PC for anybody that wants to do a PC within, $500-ish, $600 range. Is kind of where you want to be, which I think this one came out to 600. So.
And having somebody like you, though, help me through the process, because everything you just talked about is like another language to me. I have no idea what you just talked about.
If
so
you want
having
to...
someone like you do this is great, because you know, number one, how to build it, you know what we need, and how to upgrade it.
Yeah, it helps to have somebody that knows the parts and the language, only because for example, I specifically chose the Ryzen 5 3600 because it has PCIe 4.0 support. And that's something, or a part he can use later if he wants to grow the system.
What does that part do?
That's your CPU, so that is your main part that processes anything that you're doing on the PC. So whether you're gaming or open up Excel, this is going to go into more of a how do computers work class.
No, that's fine. No, I get it. So basically it's the most important
you
part.
open up an app. Any app you open has to be pulled out of the storage into the RAM and then processed by the CPU. But it goes to the RAM because it's faster and closer to the CPU, and that's kind of the easiest way I could describe.
That's perfect.
But the CPU will process all of your applications, so it's important, especially for gaming, to have a CPU that works. The other important thing about the CPU is once you start getting into bigger graphics cards, your CPU becomes really important, because you can run into a situation called bottlenecking, CPU bottlenecking, which is where the graphics card is running so fast, your frames are being processed by your graphics card so fast that your CPU can't even keep up with the frames that are being processed by your graphics card. So once you get into bigger graphics card, it's super important to have a really nice, fast CPU that will handle those frames per second, or you're just going to be leaving performance on the table. Your graphics card, for example, will be trying to deliver 120 frames or 144 frames per second, but your processor is only capable of doing 100 to 120. The whole system in total on your screen is going to produce what the smallest component can produce. So if there's a bottleneck, it's only going to produce as much as the smallest part, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for explaining it.
So it's important to definitely make sure that you have a big enough CPU on the PC in order to make sure you minimize your bottleneck. And in this case, this CPU is more than enough horsepower for this graphics card, so a bottleneck will never be a problem here.
I love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
I have more, but I can ask you as you're going.
Okay, perfect. All right, so without further ado, I guess we didn't cover the case. The case that we're going to be building in is a Montech Air 100. I have built in this case several times on this channel, and it's because of the value you get out of this case. You obviously get the case itself. It features a glass side panel with a front mesh. And the mesh is important for a case because it allows a lot of airflow. And the front is going to be your intake. So all that intake is from a mesh which allows a lot more airflow than, say, a glass front panel, which is a solid, which doesn't allow air to travel through a solid. So the mesh is very important, especially for thermals in your PC. So I always try to target... Yeah, I always try to target cases with a mesh front for that better airflow.
The mesh also allows you to see the cool lights you're going to put in, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can see the lights through the mesh. Yep,
More importantly.
Yep. In a mesh, the mesh is actually becoming more of a theme in higher-end builds. So you'll start seeing, for example, Deepcool is a case manufacturer. They're starting to put mesh on the side instead of the full side being a glass side panel. They're putting mesh up here towards the, basically almost halfway up the glass panel is a split between mesh and glass on top. And that is because the graphics card is generally down here, and with the mesh being down here, it'll allow the graphics card to breathe a little better, which means cooler temps. So it's becoming more of a theme that I've noticed in the case industry. So we should be seeing that more.
That's
but
neat.
That's normally
awesome.
what I target is the mesh for my cases. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the top-down view, and we'll get started with this build. And my camera has, for some reason, decided that it's just going to point that way.
Yeah.
Let's.
Do you have your camera on a remote, or?
Yep.
You do, of course you do.
Yeah, all of my cameras are, except for the one that's pointing at my face here. That's the Brio.
That is awesome.
So this camera right here that you see where my hand is, this is the Logitech Brio, which is a 4K, I'm sorry, not the Brio, Logitech Rally, which is a 4K camera. It's actually generally used in room systems for business conference calls. It's made for a large room with a lot of people. It has actually a fisheye lens, and you could change the view. It's actually super cool what you could do with this camera.
I have my clients that do podcasts. If they want to do simple setups, I tell them to get the Logitech too, and it's great because it has that depth
Brio.
of field. Also, yep, the Brio has that depth of field.
The Brio is right here. That's capturing my face, and then I'm using a software to remove my background. I don't have a green screen. So this is the Logitech Rally, and then the side camera that you were looking at was the Logitech PTP or P2P. I think it is. It's a Pro Series camera, similar to the Logitech Rally, just its older brother. So
yeah, it's cool.
All right. Well, I'm gonna kind of aside here. We're not going to be building or using the power supply yet, but we do have to get started with the motherboard here, CPU, RAM, the SSD, and the cooler. We're going to get started by moving the microphone so you can hear me. Getting the motherboard out of its box. And then we'll get the CPU installed.
What got you started in doing these builds?
Really, the getting started in the business or starting the business was mostly because of just friends of friends asking me to do PC builds. I've been building PCs for a long time. So mostly it's been just friends of friends. And eventually it grew to the point of, somebody mentioned, why don't you just start a website at this point? Because I was doing a couple of builds a week and it was starting to get a little crazy. And I was like, it's not a bad idea.
Did you start as a gamer and were building your own systems?
No, actually I was not gaming when I was building PCs. I was more into the programming side. And then later started getting more into gaming. And then, yes, as I was gaming, it kind of drove me to get a better system. It definitely persuaded me to keep building. At least continue my experience. So, Yes, building my own PCs is where my experience came from in the beginning days. Alright, so this is our Gigabyte B450 DS3H Wi-Fi. Not that it's in the frame very well there. Again, what I like about this board is price point that also includes Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, as well as the M.2 and pretty much any feature you need on a entry-level gaming PC. So it's a great board to start out with if you're getting into entry-level gaming PC. They are getting harder and harder to get, though, especially during the holidays. They get more difficult. More difficult.
So when you buy parts, you buy per order, right? You don't stock up on anything. You literally custom build these gaming PCs.
So for anybody that's going into a PC building business, my word of advice is to buy as you go. And the reason why is because the market prices on parts change so rapidly. For example, this is a lesson I learned a couple of years ago during the cryptocurrency boom. Is I had, in order for me to build a bunch of PCs for Christmas, around Christmas time during the holiday, I had to buy 70 of those graphics cards, actually, the GTX 1660 Super. And during that time, they were almost $550 a piece.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. For just the graphics card. So I bought 70 of them during that time. And this is where pain comes in. Not all 70 sold. In fact, majority didn't, because everybody wanted bigger, better PCs that year. And ended up, because I was expecting a lot of people going for the entry-level build during that time. And they didn't. They ended up wanting, everybody that came to me for a PC wanted a bigger, better PC. So I had all this inventory sitting here, and it took forever to get rid of it. But by the time I was selling the last cards, they were only selling at about $150 to $140 a piece.
Ouch.
So I took a huge loss on the hardware. So
okay.
Lesson is,
lesson learned.
For smaller organizations, if you're not going to be able to move the product, don't buy it.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
wow.
100%. So that is why most of my stuff is purchased as I go.
If someone is going to order a PC, let's say for a birthday or for Christmas, like I'm doing, this is for Christmas, it's a Christmas gift. How far in advance do you suggest we contact you to set this up and to place our order?
So generally, we like to have at least 8 to 10 days for a custom build. If you need a build done as soon as next day, I can do that, but we're limited to the pricing of Micro Center and other local retailers for the parts. So if you need us to get the parts today, for example, and do a build tomorrow, we can make that happen. It's just we are limited on pricing. So it may be more expensive, or it will definitely be more expensive because we're purchasing the parts locally rather than all my vendors that I could just go online and purchase parts from. And sometimes in bulk pricing because I buy so much. So it's best to give me at least a few days.
Okay. But also, you're probably crazy busy around Christmas. So right
Christmas
now,
time, yes. So my rule
are you hoping
around Christmas,
orders come in? Yeah. What's your rule? Go ahead.
is I like to tell everybody to get your order in before the 14th for me to guarantee December 14th to guarantee the build will be ready before Christmas. Anything after, I cannot guarantee that it will be completed before Christmas. But
You're
December
good.
14th.
I would say December 1st.
December 14th.
You're
and
good.
I will get it done.
That's amazing. You're incredible.
I've never, during Christmas time, had a situation where I had a PC that wasn't done in time.
Are you married? Does your wife hate this?
Actually, last year, Christmas Eve, at like 9:30 p.m., I had somebody picking up their order that's supposed to go into the tree.
Wow.
It was great.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I do everything I can to make it happen.
That's awesome. I think that's the best part about working with somebody like you to do this. I started with my son sending me links to Amazon. I had no idea what I was looking at. The reviews were terrible. I can call you and upgrade it, number one, but also for help if I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
Setting it up.
That's always a benefit.
Exactly. I think working with somebody like you is such a plus, especially for parents that, like me, have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I actually get that a lot in. I'm on a lot of forums and help forums, and just recently, actually, I saw one of my PCs from my website posted on the Michigan enthusiast PC builder forum or Facebook group. So I'm part of that group because I build PCs and I answer a lot of questions there. But they were asking, is this worth it for the price that I was asking for the build? And there's a lot of computer enthusiasts that'll come in and say, oh, you could build that PC for like $500, and I had it listed for $700. And what in their mind is, yes, you can go online and shop for these parts and probably get close to $550-ish, $600 in the parts. So you could definitely build it for cheaper. But what they are missing and failing to tell these people when people just go online and ask these questions is the warranty that's included. I'm offering a 1-year warranty with this system, as well as any of my systems. They all have at least at minimum a 1-year warranty, some of which have 2 or even up to 3-year warranties, depending on the system and where we get the parts. This one is a 1 year. So they forget about the warranty and they forget about the support. Every time, and I made a really good point on this form, every time a new Call of Duty is released, something is wrong with Call of Duty. It's not the computers, it's Call of Duty. So I immediately become Call of Duty tech support, because if you pick up the phone and try to call Call of Duty for their tech support, there's nobody there. So if your game doesn't work, your game doesn't work. Who are you going to call? So I have a lot of people that call me when a new Call of Duty is released, every single time. So I immediately become Call of Duty tech support for a month once there's a new Call of Duty out. So that's what a lot of people don't understand, is the support you get behind a PC built by a company like us, or we're called usually system integrators. But that's the thing you don't get if you go on Amazon and buy a PC, or go on eBay and buy a PC, or go on Marketplace and buy a PC, or go to Micro Center. Even their support sucks. I have so many people that have came to me for their PC after going to Micro Center, buying their PC, and then returning it to Micro Center just because either something didn't work or their support just sucked. So, and I love Micro Center. Personally, I know a lot of people that work at Micro Center, and a lot of people they even hang out here in the stream sometimes. But they, I have a lot of friends over there. And I've always liked Micro Center, but some of their policies and things I don't agree with.
Well, I believe in outsourcing. I think that if you're somebody that doesn't know a lot about something like this, I know zero. You've been so incredibly helpful. You've always been there for me when I have any questions. And quite honestly, I think your prices are ridiculously fair, like very fair for what you're doing for me.
Yeah, that's what I don't get, why people even bother telling me my prices aren't fair, because I laugh. I send them a link from Meta PC, which is another PC integrator, but they're huge, they're massive, much larger than me. And for this same PC, it probably would have been like $800, $900. So I don't know where people say my prices aren't fair. I just kind of laugh when people say that, if I run into people saying that.
All right, so you pulled a bunch of parts out. Do you want to say what you're doing?
So this is the cooler that's going to be cooling the CPU here that we installed on the motherboard. Yeah, we can actually zoom in for this. Might be better this way.
And that little fan is enough to cool that whole PC.
This is not the only fan that's going to be in this PC, but this fan is going to be attached to this heatsink here.
Okay.
And then the heatsink's going to be standing up. And what this is doing is just like your car radiator. It's transferring the heat from the bottom on here on this copper from the CPU up through these pipes, through these fins, and then the fan is blowing air through the fins, and it's cooling the pipe. So it transfers the heat from the CPU to the your radiator, which is actually a heat sink. This is what we call a heat sink. And then it cools it with the fan. So it takes the heat, transfers it off, and cools it.
What would happen if you didn't have a fan to cool it? Would the whole thing melt?
If you didn't have a fan to cool this, the PC would turn on for 2 seconds and then automatically shut off to protect itself from heat damage.
Okay.
What I'm removing here are the stock brackets that come with the motherboard. We're not going to be using these. They're usually used with unique coolers or stock coolers that are provided by AIM. But we're going to be using our own aftermarket cooler. Remove those, put in our own mounting hardware for the heatsink.
Is the aftermarket cooler you're using just better?
Yeah.
Is that why you're changing it out? Okay.
It's a huge difference. This is the bracket for the aftermarket cooler that I'm installing. Max is voicing his opinion about the coolers too. You don't say. You got something to say? Now you're acting shy.
Is it in the chat?
No, it's my dog.
Oh, your dog. I'm like, who's he talking about?
Mr. Max.
How did you come to the conclusion that that aftermarket part is better than the one that comes with it?
Most coolers come with a TDP rating. This one has a much higher TDP rating, meaning it can handle much higher temperatures versus the stock cooler. And just from experience, I know the stock coolers, one, don't last very long. I mean, they last because it's a chunk of metal. It's not like it's going to fall apart or crumble. It's the... you really have to replace the thermal paste underneath the cooler, which you'll see me add here later.
Okay.
Very quickly, because the stock heat sink will not dissipate the heat well enough, and it makes it so that the cooler, or the thermal paste just kind of degrades a lot quicker than it would with a better cooler, which pulls the heat way faster. So really, it's just a matter of experience. I've used both the stock cooler and the aftermarket coolers. And there's thousands of different coolers you can use. We've got, your heatsink here. I guess we need to zoom out. One. You got your heatsink there at the top of the motherboard. No, stop.
Is that your dog again?
No, that's my camera acting up.
Oh.
This is going to be in a PC that I'm going to be building tomorrow. But
Okay.
then there's this cooler, which is bigger than the motherboard itself.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So you can.
What would you need that for?
So what's this for?
Yeah, what would you need that? Is it for a bigger, more complex computer?
Yeah, it's for a bigger CPU. I mean, it's physically the same size, the CPU, but it's going to be, it produces a lot more heat because it draws a lot more electricity to it.
Okay.
So it needs to be cooled with a bigger cooler. So
Oh my
this is
gosh.
actually a liquid cooler too. So It's factory sealed by Arctic, which means we aren't dealing with any of the liquid. It's all the liquid is all handled before it's even packaged here and before we get it. So once we get it, it's just one part that we're putting into the system. But there is mounting hardware just like this one. But it does an even better job than this cooler.
So mine is just because I have a basic. I'm starting basic. The one that you're going to build tomorrow using that larger cooler, I'm assuming is a
yeah,
bigger,
it's just
more
like
complex
tires
build.
for your car. You can buy basic tires for just driving around and doing your thing, which would be kind of like your stock cooler. Just web browsing. Stock cooler's just fine. If you're going to be gaming though, it puts a bigger load on the CPU, which means it's going to create more heat, which means you want a bigger cooler to help heat that CPU so it lasts longer without any heat issues. Then you're going to want to go with something like this, and then you can even get bigger than this one here and bigger than the one that I just showed you. There's like 1,000 different coolers you could choose from. Knowing the right one for the right build is kind of the part that saves you money. You don't overbuy or underbuild. All right, so we are ready to place our thermal paste on the CPU here. This paste is what will transfer the heat from the CPU onto the copper, onto the heatsink. This is thermal paste by Thermal Right, the same company that makes the cooler. The stuff is actually pretty good. It's the TF7. Has a pretty good lifespan.
Do a lot of people bring you their PCs that they got, online or somewhere else to have you fix them too, or you just do builds?
Yes, actually, I have a lot of people that bring me their PCs that they bought elsewhere to service or upgrade or tune. So I do a lot with other brands as well. Yes, they're pretty much all the same thing. It's just a different person built it. I even have people that bought their parts thinking that they're going to be building their own PC and they're super excited to do it, and then they get into starting to do the build and then they find out that it's too complicated, or they just don't want to do the work. So then they bring me a pile of parts and say, this is what I bought. Sometimes they bought the wrong stuff. Hey Adam over on Facebook, thanks for that like, sir.
Similar. My husband's in construction, so everyone thinks they can watch a YouTube channel and do it.
Yeah, that's what everybody
I saw it on YouTube. Like, okay, go ahead, try.
But I mean, then when I'm looking at parts of the purchase, kind of going through it, I explain to them why I wouldn't have bought something, or why I would have had to have parts and having me.
I don't blame him. Honestly, anybody watching this, just contact Ben directly instead before you buy anything.
So this is your motherboard here with our RAM installed, our 16 gigs of RAM, our 1 terabyte SSD, and then down below underneath this heatsink, this big chunk of metal, is your CPU, which is the Ryzen 5 3600, and then we've got our CPU, which is this big fan with the metal, our heatsink, cooler. So that's ready to go into the case.
And that glue dried that quickly?
It's not glue, it's thermal paste. It's actually supposed to stay somewhat pasty for a long period of time. If it dries up, it actually starts to, that means it's degrading and it's actually not doing its job, meaning it's not going to be able to transfer the heat as efficiently or effectively off the CPU to the cooler. So it's important that your paste stays a paste for as long as it can. It will eventually degrade. All pastes will. So it's something that we'll have to replace as years go by. And you'll know because your CPU, your CPU will be hot. It'll be running super hot, or your system will be running kind of sluggish and slow because your CPU is running hot. It starts to do what we call thermal throttling, which is your CPU is getting so hot to the point where your system is actually slowing itself down to cool itself down. Then you're losing performance, and you'll notice it. That's usually when people call me.
Are there temperature gauges for a computer? Is that a dumb question? Does that exist?
No, yeah, those exist.
Okay. Should I get one of those too? Or not really worrying about it because I'm not getting the Mac Daddy build. I'm getting the basic build.
The only time I ever go into something like that is when we've maxed out all the other parts.
Okay.
It's more of a luxury to have that than a requirement.
Okay.
And a lot of higher end motherboards actually have those built in. Actually has it or not, but this is a Z790 by Gigabyte, which is UD series, ultra durable. This is a much bigger board that, again, going to be for the build that I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I don't think this one has it. It doesn't, but usually they'll have an LED up here at the top that'll tell you your system temperatures.
What temp should it be under, essentially? Like, when do you know, oh no, this is not good? Yeah.
The maximum temperature, I think, is okay under, and this is a big difference. There's an idle temperature and then an under load temperature. The idle temperature should be around, I'd say, between 30 and 40 degrees Celsius is good. And then anything under load, if we are hitting 80 plus Celsius, there's definitely something wrong with your airflow, or something wrong with your cooler or your thermal paste. So if we get above 80 Celsius under load, then I would say it's too hot. Although some of the bigger CPUs will get hotter than that, so it also depends on your CPU. So I got the case ready here, and I put the I/O shield on the back, which is this metal-looking thing here, right here. This is it's really for aesthetics and for air pressure. It just covers up the gap. And then I'm dropping the board into the case here. Trying to get everything lined up. And then I'll grab the case hardware. We can start mounting the board with its motherboard screws. And there's going to be 6 for this one.
Can I ask you a question while you screw that in?
Sure. Go
so
for it.
how will I know when to upgrade? He's 13, or he's going to be 13. He's just starting his gaming journey.
Yep.
How will I know, okay, it's time to upgrade?
I mean, this PC is going to last a good year or two for the games that he's probably going to be playing.
Mm-hmm.
He'll start complaining about FPS, for example. Mom, my FPS is just lagging, yo. Or so, I don't know what he's going to talk like. I'm just imagining, just based off of my
it's more like,
kids.
Mom, it's going slow.
Yeah.
What do I do? That would be it.
Yeah. I'm losing my fights because of my FPS. When he starts saying things like that, then it's probably time to start considering a bigger graphics card. And he's got a 750 watt power supply in here, so a graphics card is something that you could easily upgrade in this system.
So I don't have to upgrade much more than the graphics card to get to the next level.
Yeah.
Because of the way you're
building
building
the only
this.
other thing I could think of is maybe storage. And, as it gets into bigger and bigger graphics cards, maybe we start thinking of a bigger CPU and maybe an motherboard. But that's like years from now. The CPU is going to be just fine for casual gaming and 1080p gaming for probably the next couple of years. I don't see it being a problem.
What is a graphics card? Can you explain that shortly, in like a short way?
Yep. The graphics card, this guy, is what processes your frames per second.
Okay.
So basically, if you open up a game, well, really anything that's on the screen is being handled by your graphics card. So anything you see on your screen, that's because of your graphics card. Your graphics card is putting that on your screen. Now, once we start getting into games, you start loading things that we call textures and 3D models and things, shaders, and all these different components to make the world that you're playing in, or to, I guess, render the world that we're playing in. So let's say you're playing on a Call of Duty map, and you open up the game and you run it, you get into the game, the graphics card is what has to render all of the 3D models and the shaders and the textures. Everything has to be done by the graphics card there. So obviously the bigger, faster graphics card you have, the smoother and faster the performance will be while rendering all of that. And it gets even more important when there's a lot of explosions and physics and things happening in the game, because the graphics card has to handle all those physics and render all those physics and explosions and dynamic things happening in the game. That's all on the graphics card as it's happening. And it's happening in real time. Now, there's a measurement that we use for performance called frames per second, or you might have heard the term FPS. Not first-person shooter in this case, but frames per second. Because first-person shooter is a game type that a lot of the kids play, like Call of Duty. That's a first-person shooter. But the frames per second, that is your measurement of how many frames are being processed on your screen per second. And the higher the frames per second, the smoother the gameplay is going to be, and less flipbook style. The less frames per second, the closer you get to flipbook, which means you're seeing things like woof, 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 you can actually see the different the pauses in between frames. That's going to be your flipbook experience. Rather than a smooth transition where you can see everything smoothly, which gives you an advantage when you're playing against other people that might be playing on console, for example. Console is very limited. It's limited to about 30 to 60 frames per second, but PCs can deliver up to 165, and some bigger, fatter PCs you could do 244 or 240 frames per second now. And that gives you a huge advantage, because the person on console is only seeing 30 or 60 frames. The person on the high-end PC is seeing 240 frames. For the human eye, you can actually see the difference in the two. If you've ever gone to like an old television, like a super old TV, and tried to watch that compared to our new TVs, that is because of frames per second. It's the same thing. It's so much smoother on a newer TV than it would be on an old TV that looks like you're watching a flipbook, which it didn't look like it back then, but now it would be.
Yeah,
but you can actually see
now.
the difference, and it's the same with your gameplay. Same thing with a car. So let's say you're driving a car, and one person is driving a Dodge Neon, the other person, and I don't know why I'm going Dodge here, but one person's driving a Dodge Neon, the other person's driving a Dodge Challenger. Fully loaded. I mean, who do you think is going to win?
Exactly.
It's the same thing. Same driver, too. Let's make it the same driver. The driver doesn't matter at that point, so the person doesn't matter. So really, it's your tool that's putting you in the competition that makes the difference at that point. So that's why gaming PCs are much more desired than your console, especially if you're trying to get more into competitive gaming or up your game. PC is really kind of the absolute only way to go. You can't really do it on console.
He does definitely wants to get more competitive, so I'm glad we're making this change because he does have a console right now.
Okay.
And then he wants to start a Twitch channel because who doesn't?
Yeah. And that's the other beauty about PC is that you could start recording things that you're doing on the PC to upload to YouTube and do streams. Although with the streaming, I would have recommended a little bit more horsepower on the CPU, but this can still do it.
Okay.
It just would have helped with a little bit more CPU power. But he could definitely record and upload and do all sorts of things. And you can even stream on this PC if he wanted to. He won't have as many bells and whistles on his stream until he gets a little bit better of a PC. But I mean, when you're starting out with a stream, I always tell people to start out with small things first and kind of learn as you grow. Because if you grow with a bunch of, dump a bunch of money into tools and things on your stream, and then you find out, some things don't work for you and others do, it's kind of just a waste of money. So I always tell people just to start slow and learn it as you grow it.
And he's young too. I don't, think he needs to be streaming live on Twitch.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's going to be up to the parents there.
You. Yeah, I'm a media producer, so
I don't let my kids stream yet. She's 11.
How old are your kids?
I have a 11-year-old daughter and I have a 2-year-old. So obviously the 2-year-old is not streaming.
I also have an 11-year-old daughter. Aren't they fun?
Yes. Her birthday's coming up too, so she wants an iPhone 11 and I'm like, no.
Do you want to say what you're doing, or do you want me to ask you another question?
No, go for it. I'm just plugging in fans.
Okay, tell me when you want to explain something, because I have so many questions for you. What is the most expensive build you have ever done? Not full room yet. I do want to ask you about that, but just computer build.
So we're going to subtract the business world, the business side of things, and only custom gaming PC. The most expensive PC I built was probably back in 2021, right, or 2022, right at the tail end of the cryptocurrency boom / COVID situation where everything was just super expensive. The price of parts then were super insanely expensive, inflated, so that didn't help. But either way, this would have been a very expensive build. But it was a $12,000 open loop build. So
wow. Wow.
I had the highest end parts, and there was actually 2 graphics cards in the system, and everything in the system, including the RAM, the SSD, the motherboard, the CPU, the graphics cards, all of it was liquid cooled, which requires a custom open loop. So there's actual piping and plumbing and everything you do inside the system, and it's actually all cooled by liquid. I could show you an image later, but
incredible.
It's a couple of pictures of it.
Was it for you, or was it for
One second,
like a
I have
friend?
somebody at the door.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
All right. Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. All right, where were we? Oh yeah,
What, was it a personal build? Was it a personal build, or was it for like a friend?
It was for a customer.
Okay.
All right. So now what I'm going to do is get some of these cables from the case, which is actually handling the front panel. Everything you see here on the front panel, this all has to be plugged into the motherboard. So our power button, our reset button, our USB 3.0, USB 2.0, and our HD audio, that all needs to be plugged into the motherboard. And that's what a lot of these cables are here. We're going to get these plugged into the motherboard so that they will work as expected. This one here is our HD audio, and I know for sure it's in this area of the board. And then this one is our USB 2.0. I'm pretty sure it's right there. This is our USB 3.0, actually USB 2. And then what is it? Sorry, I was getting another call. Usually why I try not to do streams during the days because it gets pretty busy here.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I was trying to get it done for you too. So
I appreciate it. All those wires are making me like sweaty. The fact that you know where every single one of those wires goes, it's like giving me heart palpitations.
That's what a lot of people say when they watch the build stream.
I'm just like, oh my god.
So here we go. We got all of our stuff in the right places. So these right here, these are our power switch, our LED switch, which indicates that we have power to the system. You know, some little light indicators, our actual power switch. Which go down here to these pins. It's going to be kind of difficult to see on the stream, but for the most part, there's going to be a pin layout called JFP1. There's a pile of pins that you plug these into.
Oh my gosh.
Mostly the same layout for on every single motherboard, so I of course have them memorized by now, but if you ever needed to look these up, they would be in your motherboard manual showing you exactly which pin is for what. And in some cases, like this motherboard actually has it laid out on the board itself. You can also use that to indicate, but it's super small, and if you're like me with my old eyes, I would not be able to read them anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's so tiny.
They look teeny tiny.
And then that last one was USB 3.0, the front panel. This is the addressable RGB connection that I'm going to be plugging in for the fans. This is what's going to power and control the RGB lights on the fans from the software connected to the motherboard. Do that. Then we have our USB 2.0 connection. Going out here. All of these connections can really only be plugged in one way, minus the power button and everything. First ones that I did. Really can't plug them in the wrong way, because they're pinned out a specific way that makes it so that they can only be plugged in one way. Make it safe. Although it's not really going to damage much unless you, for example, plug the USB in wrong, and then you actually plug a stick in. You might fry the USB stick or the USB mouse or something if you have it plugged in wrong. So that's it.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
No.
Oh, okay.
That's it for these connections.
Okay. Okay.
Starting to look like a computer, yeah?
It is. It's insane.
So next up, we could probably drop our graphics card into the slot here, and then we can get our motherboard, or I'm sorry, our power supply installed. That's going to be what's powering. So this is our GTX 1660 Super that we're installing. This is what's going to be handling all the graphics things that he's going to see on his PC. I need to pop one of these out. I had the two great ones done, but I currently had
Can you like work and answer my question if I have another question, or do you want to focus on that for a second?
Go for it.
Okay.
I could
So
probably
you said-
build a PC blindfolded now.
So you had said that you started programming computers, right?
More just command prompt, playing with commands on PCs, and I mean I've been building PCs for a long time. So my first PC was DOS operating system.
Was it like, were you a teenager? How old were you when you got into all of this?
I was like 13.
Did your parents support this? Like, what can people do?
They hated computers.
Okay.
I grew up on a farm where, anything technology was devil.
Oh my gosh, what a transition. So what can people do if their kid is interested in this? How do you help them continue this interest? How do you develop this?
So it's either by experience, or you can actually go to school. And something unique over here in our Oakland community, Oakland County. I don't know if you're actually Oakland County or Macomb.
I am.
Yeah, okay. So over here in Oakland, I grew up in Leonard, which is Oakland County, and so we're part of the Oakland County school system. And while I was growing up, my mom actually found out that the public school system has a system called OTEC, Oakland Technical Campus, and it's all part of high school. So what you can do while you're going to high school, and this is all part of the public school system and counts towards your graduation, which is super cool. The first half of your day, instead of doing your regular school, you go to this technical campus, and you can actually take things like cosmetology, or what's the other one? They have mechanics, they have robotics, they have it's really more of a trade school, in my opinion, because what I did was, while I was in high school, I was going to this class, and I was A+ certified before I even graduated high school.
Oh my gosh.
And what that made me capable of is walking into a computer repair shop with a certificate saying I know all of this information, which A+ covers kind of the basics of computers. I was A+ certified, Network Plus certified, because there's more than just the A+ certificate that you can get there. But I was A+ certified, Network Plus certified, and there's a couple others that I got too. But it made it so I could just walk to a shop and get a job on the spot when I was 18 and start my experience in the computer industry, or in the technology industry.
Is that what you were doing? Is that how you started?
Yeah, that's how I started my career.
Getting money for it, yeah. Actually making money.
Yeah.
Were you the kid that would take stuff apart all the time?
Oh yeah. I was 3 years old and I was taking apart a VCR.
Oh my gosh, you're just genius level with this stuff. That's amazing.
I know. I also put peanut butter jellies in here too, apparently. So,
wow.
It was
Maybe
kind
you
of
wanted a new
how
one.
will this work?
You're inquisitive.
It's an adventure.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's how I started, and I recommend anybody that's in the Oakland, and I think there's more than just Oakland County that does this. There's a couple other counties, I think, in Michigan that I know of that do it. I actually go into the class still, because I'm very, very close friends with the teacher that actually teaches the class now. So I actually go to the class and talk about, the industry, and make sure the kids understand the different types of IT jobs that are out there, because it's not just like, hey, I'm in IT. That's a very broad topic, because there's printer techs, there's cybersecurity that are just strictly focused on security, and then there's government security level. That's a whole nother career path that you could go. And then there's just your home PC repair guy that does PC repairs for residential customers. And then there's things like cloud like Office 365, SharePoint, Azure, Teams, Microsoft Teams, all these things that are just different topics to talk about and understand, because it's all different things you can do and focus on.
That's incredible.
And I've done pretty much everything, everything in the book. and I got bored of the business side of it, but I worked for a lot of managed service providers over the years, and it's always about money, 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 and that drove me insane.
So do you love having your own business now and doing this and being able to be home and manage your time?
Yes, much better than a 9 to 5. I wish I could get this to grow a little quicker, but
I can help you. You can do it together. Oh my gosh. How do people usually find you? I know I found you I think I found you on Facebook, right?
Yeah, I think it was Facebook Marketplace.
Yes.
So that is a weird issue, because the issue is that there are a ton of PC builder integrators that are much larger than me and have a much larger marketing budget. So for example, if I'm targeting only here in Lake Orion or Oxford in our local area, I'm just targeting this area locally, let's say 10 or 15 miles from my location, that's the only place that I'm targeting with my marketing budget, I will still get completely destroyed by other larger companies that are all the way in California. They just blow my marketing budget out of the water. So it's nearly impossible to compete with pay per click type of marketing, like Google ads or Facebook ads, or it's almost impossible, because the term gaming PC costs almost $6 for somebody to click on. $6 for one person, only just to click the ad. That doesn't mean you're absolutely going to get a sale. That's just clicking the ad. So you can't use gaming PC as your niche. But that's what everybody looks for.
Yeah, because you're not going to put it in custom build first. You're going to put gaming PC in first.
Exactly. So it's really hard to compete in this area.
What are your social media handles? Can people find you on social?
Yeah, that's the majority of my customers actually come from word of mouth, an event that I may go attend to, or social media posting and just sharing. It's mostly word of mouth though.
Okay.
And that's how it's grown the entire time.
Do you have social handles? Like, do you do Instagram?
I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch.
Is it all?
Facebook.
What are the handles?
They're all kind of different.
Okay. I'll try to add them. If I cut all this up for social, I'll try to add them all.
Yeah, I can send you a list of all of them.
Okay.
All right, so this is the power supply that I'm preparing right now before we install it. I gotta respond to that guy that tried to call me earlier.
Yeah. I'm live, sir.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm actually helping him specifically with digital marketing, which is another thing I help with. But this area with my digital marketing is very, like I was saying, difficult, because you can't just run ads and be successful. Not an easy way to do it. It's more of just getting out there and making as many people possible aware that you exist around the right time.
So digital marketing, meaning you know how to work the Meta business suite for Facebook and Instagram and how to back end all that stuff?
Yep.
We need to have another conversation then, because I started that process and they make it so difficult to me.
Yeah, it's not as difficult. Just need to know what your goal is. What happened? That's probably the most difficult part, and any type of marketing is capturing your goal. That's what I ask every client.
What's your end goal? What's the end goal? What do we want here?
What do you want to do? I want customers. Okay, well, how do you want to get to customers? Like,
so we may be having a conversation after this and hiring you as a consultant as well. Yay, Ben, let's get you more business.
Yay.
You can build rooms, right? You've mentioned that to me before.
What's that?
That you've actually building a gaming room.
Yeah.
People have hired you to actually build a whole gaming room.
Yep.
What did that entail?
Money. That's what it usually ends up being.
But was it like a certain
on a serious
monitors, cameras, lighting, all that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually for the streamer that kind of wants a really nice background. So we'll go through and I haven't gone as far as painting yet, but if they need help painting, I know how to paint. Not that hard. But if you know, if you want a specific design on the wall, or you want some custom wall art, or and then RGB lighting in the room to make it all sync up to a couple of different things, or even voice commands from your phone, or voice commands from your Alexa or Google or Siri, whatever it might be. We can set that all up, make it easy for you.
That's amazing.
Somebody told me that I should be doing smart homes. So,
You probably should. I mean, you're brilliant. The amount of knowledge you have.
I don't know if I want to go there.
I do also want to talk to you after about hiring you to come to my little podcast studio, because live streaming, the way your setup is, I'm kind of interested in wanting to learn more about that, how you're doing it. Because OBS is another thing that scares me.
Mine's a unique setup because I'm trying to capture a couple of different camera views, and you know, I have to be able to zoom in on stuff, and then my lighting is weird. This is not your traditional lighting because I need to put the light down here where my hands are.
Right.
And also capture my face while also not shining light directly into the lens here. It's kind of a weird setup, I'd say, but
it's not that, it's more the tech of like using OBS. I downloaded it and it scares me.
Okay. Yeah. OBS is have you ever used OBS before or no?
No, it was one of those, I went on YouTube and it was like, oh, I think I can follow the instructions, and then I was like, I have no idea what's happening.
I can help.
It's like everyone else made it sound so simple. Why can't I do this?
That's easy
but it's
to
mainly
set up.
for reaction videos. Well, I say reaction, but I like reviewing podcasts, video podcasts on YouTube. So I want the picture-in-picture, but I also want to be able to do those live sometimes. And I can't figure out how to get both of what I want.
Yeah, that could all be done in OBS.
Okay.
For sure. Actually, I think there's a crap back. We need to go back, Scotty. You could tell I'm old.
Oh, I'm old. I'm probably older. I just turned 48, so.
Yeah, you got me beat.
Yay, me. Well, that's why this is so helpful, honestly. I wouldn't have even known where to start. Like his Amazon list, I was just like, ugh, none of this makes sense to me. Especially after reading reviews and people are like, it's not even a good starter PC.
Yeah, there's a lot of scammy type companies out there that build super cheap PCs and then mark them as gaming PCs. And then you pick it up and you try to run a game on it and it runs like crap because it's not a gaming PC, it's more of a desktop.
Well, that was my fear. I was like, if I'm going to spend this much money, and mine's even basic, so it's not even as much as a lot of other people are putting into it, wouldn't you want someone like Ben to be able to talk to and understand what you're putting into the system?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people understand after they find me.
They find you.
It's the finding me part that I struggle with. I don't know why.
I feel so lucky you popped up. I honestly do. I feel like it was, perfect.
Yeah. Pull this through. There we go. All right. Starting to look like a gaming PC now?
Sure, because I've seen so many of those. Based on the photo I was shown by my son, absolutely.
Almost there.
What is the most you've built in a day?
I think I had to build last year during the holidays. I had 10 to do in one day. And
Holy
I started
cow.
at 6 a.m. and I ended at like 4 a.m.
Well, let's not do that to you this year. Everybody get your orders in now. Come on.
Please.
Please. On your Twitch, it says build count 659. So is that how many you have built this year?
That is our build count for this year, yes.
That's awesome. What's the most you've done in a year, or do you not want to say?
Last year was the most that we did, and I think I almost hit 1,000. So we're a little light this year heading into the holiday season, so it's either going to be we break that 1,000 because of just how many PCs we build the holiday, or it's going to be we're light because of the economy, and it's definitely
right.
It's definitely impacted by the economy. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Not the greatest time to buy a PC, but or any luxury item.
Right.
I'm sure
But for the people that are, like truly though, for the people that are though, and are going to put that money into it anyway, I think contacting someone like you to do this is just the best option. So you get way more bang for your buck, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I try to do, is try to get everybody the best possible price to dollar per performance, or performance per dollar is the metric we use. That's the idea, is try to get it the best we can. And it's not going to be an old workstation PC with a graphics card in it and then called a gaming PC. Like 90% of the Amazon sellers. And some people just don't even know that, they think that, well, that's just the nature of gaming PCs, is they just suck. Or it's a brand. It's the simple thing is that you just got kind of scammed.
Well, and that's how I felt. I was so happy I was reading the reviews, because otherwise I would have just been like, okay, gaming PC. He sent me the link. Bye. Yeah. And I just thought, let me just read the reviews, and it just wasn't good. And I went to other ones. I looked up other ones. All of them were terrible. And that's when I was like, all right, I gotta go online. And I was thinking of buying a used gaming PC. That's why I went to Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. And I'm just so thankful that you popped up instead.
Now, did you decide to go with me because of my reviews, or?
No, I just had a gut feeling, honestly. I mean, yes, the reviews helped, but I didn't go that in depth with it. Do you have used gaming PCs for sale also? Or do you sell prepackaged items, or you do everything custom?
Prepackaged items, you can review my website. I have pre-build options, but those are, again, everything I do is built upon order.
And the website, is it empowergamingcomputers.com?
Empowergamingpcs.com, but I'm sure the empowergamingcomputers.com will also get you to my website.
Okay.
I own a lot of the domains around that name.
So now we're zip tying everything so it looks nice and neat.
Yep, this is our cable management area. So it's nice and clean. Plastic. What we have. This is also the difference of a lot of different system integrators, is they don't spend the time to keep the cables nice and clean. They just kind of throw it all in there. And this is just more of quality than anything. It's not a requirement. But
my OCD about wires is loving this. I zip tie everything in my podcast studio.
Your workspace could look like this too.
Mm-hmm.
This is the back of the PC, so it's not even an area that you're going to see.
But you know, and that's what's important.
All right. There we go. Is that clean cable management for you?
I love it.
David, if I was going to dump a bunch of money on a computer, I wouldn't go with anyone except Ben here. Thanks, David.
Exactly,
known
100%.
this guy for a lot of years. He'll see you up for success. Set. I think he meant set. He said
I believe
That's
so.
a comment over on Facebook. Thank you, man. How have you been, by the way? Because I haven't seen you in a while. Been kind of doing our own things for a while. All right, so I just put the back panel onto the case. That's what you see instead of those cables.
Love that.
And then this side, what you will see, actually, do. Yeah, the other benefit to going to a local place instead of shopping on Amazon, if something doesn't work, because it happens, it's all technology, or if something needs service or help with anything, I'm local. You don't have to send it back or call somebody and talk to somebody that has no idea and probably has never worked on this problem before, is reading from a script. You're talking to me or somebody that knows what they're doing.
Well, that's the most important thing to me, 100%, is to have that customer service level.
Yeah, that is a big difference. You know, I'm going to keep the glass off because it's reflective, powered on. Need to plug it in and fire it up.
Oh my gosh.
Time ever. Gotta get this quick.
You need one of those mini vacuums.
Oh, it's all the screws and extra hardware. This is going to be included with the PC. So if he ever does have to do any upgrades, he has all the hardware for the case to do.
You are funny. That we're going to remember that.
Bring it back to me and you say, Ben, I need to do this. They'll be like, where's your hardware bag?
Oh, can I tape it to the back of the computer?
Sure, we could even put it inside the computer.
Ooh, I like that idea.
It'll be an Easter egg for me. Oh, there it is. All right, so I'm going to plug this in, and then we're going to change camera view so we can see it from the side when we go to power it on for the first time. getting everything plugged in. There we are. And a power cord. All right. Switching. All right. You ready for me to push this power button?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So the lights are on the fans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the lights are on the fans. They're all synced, but we have to get it into the software to get it synced up.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to adjust them. This is the motherboard, because the motherboard's actually controlling the lights right now. The motherboard is set defaults to this orange-red color. So once we get into the software, we'll be able to change the colors or change to a different mode. For example, this is going to be a hardware control, which we can control all 4 of the case fans, but we can't control this fan here. So I could push this button and change to different colors and modes.
So will you connect that to the screen at some point and just make sure all of that is running?
Yeah, that's all going to be taken care of. And when you come pick it up, I can even walk you through how to get into the software and change all the lights. I
love it. Yes, 100%.
And we have a post here on the screen, which means post is power on self-test. And that means that the PC powered on successfully and booted up to the BIOS successfully. So, fully working PC.
Oh my God, yay!
We just need to get the Windows installed, and then we have to do the drivers and all the update stuff. And then after that, we should have it ready. And then I do also the battle test and stuff, and then install and play with the RGB software to make sure that's set up for you.
That's awesome.
And then I know you talked about some games, so I could maybe do 1 or 2 of those games on that list. Like I think Fortnite was one of them.
Probably. It was a long list. He added more, so I just figured you and I will talk and tell me what to do.
All right.
Because we had mentioned doing it through Steam, right? So we'll talk more about it. We'll figure out what I need to do. And then, oh my God. So I'm going to go pick him up from school right now. He obviously is not going to see any of this until after Christmas. But
unless he's following me on Twitch or Facebook.
So cool. I will add that after the fact. Let's see. I'll find out. But that was so cool. Thank you so much for allowing me into the process. I really honestly appreciate that so much.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Trey over on Twitch. We will be doing your PC later today. So just hang tight, man. We are going to be building your PC coming up here next. You're the next build.
Yay. Good for him. I'm excited for everybody. This is great. Ben, you're amazing. I'm going to sign off.
Yeah, no problem. No, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and just let me know if you have any questions until then, but I'll shoot you an email once it's ready to go.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then when I come pick it up, I'll probably do another video with you when I come get it.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yay. Thank you so much. This was so cool.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a great stream.
Thanks, you too. Or have a good day.
I will.
All right, Trey. I'm going to actually stop the stream here at this build, but I am going to do your PC a little bit later, probably 4:30, 5:30 p.m. So I will be doing your build today. I have to run to Micro Center and grab a part for another build as well before I could go any further today. I have to go get this part before it's out of stock because they're flying off the shelves and I need it for a build tomorrow. So I have to run to Micro Center, grab a part real quick, and then I will be doing your build probably around 4:35 p.m. So just stay tuned, and we will be doing your build today. And I'm excited to do it for you finally. So just hang out, and I'll see you around 5 o'clock. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one, which is going to be later this evening. Yes.
I can get you through this when it hurts and it's bad, yeah.